Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the High Commission of India, Kuala Lumpur, it's my indeed privilege to welcome you all, our invited guests, for this very special evening as we are here to celebrate the National Youth Day, which is commemorated to honor the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. We are very proud to share that this is done in partnership with Ramakrishna Mission, Malaysia. I would like to welcome His Excellency Shri B.N. Reddy, the High Commissioner of India to Malaysia, the Deputy High Commissioner, Mrs. Archana Nair, His Holiness Swami Supriyananda, the President of Ramakrishna Mission, Malaysia, the guest speakers, members of Ramakrishna Mission, Malaysia, members from our community associations, members from the media, and officials from the High Commission of India, Kuala Lumpur. Swami Vivekananda, as we all know, grew up as a symbol of youth power and fostered new enthusiasm for progress among the youth. So much so that we celebrate his birth anniversary as a National Youth Day. This year's celebration is part of the AzadiKaAmritMahotsav Celebration, which is commemorated because of India's 75 years of independence. To begin today's program, I would like to invite Mrs. Varsha Kannan, the Carnatic vocal teacher from the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Indian Cultural Center, for the rendition of a bhajan, Naam Japan Kyun Chhod Diya. May I kindly request Mrs. Varsha Kannan to take the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Today I am presenting a bhajan by Kabir Das. The poem says about the importance of spirituality among youth, and he urges the youth to be more spiritual for a better life. Hope you all like it. Thank you. नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया। झूठे जग में जी ललचा कर, झूठे जग में जी ललचा कर, असल वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया, झूठे जग में जी ललचा कर, असल वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया जही सुमिरन ते अति सुख पाए जही सुमिरन ते अति सुख पायो सो सुमिरन क्यों छोड़ दिया क्रोध न छोड़ा क्रोध न छोड़ा झूठ न छोड़ा सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया Thank you.
I would like to thank Mrs. Varsha Kannan for the auspicious beginning to today's event. Now we'll have the felicitation of our guests and the guest speakers. May I kindly request His Excellency Shri B.N. Reddy, the High Commissioner of India, to kindly felicitate the guests. First will be the felicitation of His Holiness Swami Supriyananda. I would now request His Excellency Shri B.N. Reddy to felicitate Mr. Dharma Pillai. I would now like to call upon the guest speaker from Ramakrishna Mission, Mr. Tavakumaran, to be felicitated by Shri B.N. Reddy, the High Commissioner of India. On behalf of Ramakrishna Mission, His Holiness Swami Supriyananda will also be felicitating the guests. First, he will be felicitating Mr. Dharma Pillai. Thank you very much, Swamiji. Next, Mrs. Varsha Kannan will be felicitated by His Holiness. Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Tavakumaran to be felicitated by Swami Supriyananda. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, His Holiness. I would now like to request Mr. Dharma Pillai, who is the Advocacy Director and the co-founder of Undi 18, which primarily manages the public interest campaigns. Mr. Dharma Pillai has also had the honor of being appointed the ministerial appointee to the Malaysian Youth Consultative Council in the year 2018. He will now join us for his talk on vision of Swami Vivekananda and contribution of youth in nation building. May I kindly call upon Mr. Dharma Pillai to take the stage, please.
Hello everyone. Firstly, thank you very much to the Indian High Commission for inviting me. Thank you to the High Commission of India, His Excellency Shri B.N. Reddy, the Swami Supriyananda, the President of Ramakrishna Mission, friends, colleagues, and young people of Malaysia, and also young people of India. I'd like to start with a simple quote by Swami Vivekananda. Youth life is the most precious life. Youth is the best time. It is the way you utilize this period will decide the nature of coming years that lie ahead of you. I'm a big believer in youth. I think that if we want to change this country together, we want to fix the wrongs of the past. We want to improve situations for our community. We want to improve things for the betterment of our lives, our children, our communities, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. We have to invest in young people today. The Undi 18 movement is an investment in the youth. For those who are not aware about Undi 18, it is a movement to lower the voting age in Malaysia from 21 years old to 18 years old. And in 2019, we have succeeded with a triple constitutional amendment to the Malaysian Federal Constitution to lower the voting age in Malaysia. And I'm also very pleased to announce officially in just a few days, on the 16th of January, which is, if I'm not mistaken, this Sunday, we will have an increase of 5.8 million new voters into the Malaysian democratic system. I believe this is a great success for Malaysian youth. This is a great success for democracy. This is a great success for representation. I want to point out and I want to share the story of Undi 18 a little bit, because I think we often believe that change is impossible, change is far-fetched, change is something that we can only dream of. I want to talk to you about a little bit about my background and the story that I had fighting for Undi 18. I was not someone that was from a political party, and I still am not from a political party. I'm not someone that is from a very wealthy family. In fact, my family is from a very low-income family, and I only studied on a scholarship overseas. So these were the conditions that I existed in, and I started this movement within this context that I was in. So what we did was that we had a dream, we had a belief that this is something that needs to be done, and we actively started working. And I think the important thing I also want to emphasize over here was that we did not expect to succeed fast. We realized that this is going to be a struggle, but a struggle is something that was worth doing because it's something that matters for this country. So we looked on a long enough timeline, a long enough time scale, because again, changing the constitution is not something you do every single day, right? In fact, the Undi 18 bill was unique because it was the first time in Malaysian history where we had a constitutional amendment with 100% of votes in the lower and upper house of Parliament, the Dewan Rakyat and Dewan Negara. First time in Malaysian history. And the fact that it was led by young people, it was led by non-politicians, I think that was something that was considered miraculous, was considered to be a great success. But why do we invest in the youth in particular? When you talk about these numbers, 5.8 million, and I'm sure we know that young people have very different mindsets, right? Even in this room today, some of us might be conservative, some of us might be progressive, some of us might have different ideologies, some of us might have different types of thinking. But I think the idea of investing in the youth, and I think similar to Swami Vivekananda's vision and idealism, is that the youth is your metric or is your seeds for tomorrow. If we do not invest in the future generation, those of you in this room, those of you in the organizations that you are forming, then our nation is lost. I think that's the part that we wanted to invest in going forward. And that's why for us, with Undi 18, we want to focus more on voter education. We want to focus more on trying to make democracy even better in Malaysia, trying to make public policy even better. And for that, I want to thank the Indian High Commission for sending me on a very important trip a few weeks ago, actually. I think this was towards the end of November, early December, where I was involved in a program called the Next Gen Democracy Network, where I met young leaders from across the world. Some from Jamaica, from Poland, from Uzbekistan, from Bhutan, people from countries I've never met in the entire world. And I think the great thing was that you are able to see that these are models of development, models of public policy, ideas of culture, of nation building that we can learn from. The idea is this: the more you travel, the more you learn, the more you read, the more you talk to people, the better you become, the more open your mind is. I think this is the idealism that I also hold for myself. So for me, I was very lucky that I was able to see the world and bring these ideas back to Malaysia. And I think one important thing that I really urge more young Malaysians to do is to look beyond our borders. to look at the world around us and bring those idealism, bring those inspiration, bring those challenges, and bring those models back home, and let's try to build on things together. That's something that's so important. I know that for many of us, especially in the context of Malaysia, I know that many of us might have this sense of apathy. Many of us might feel that, okay, I'm just in a minority in Malaysia, an Indian minority, right? This is something that we may not have the power or authority to do so. But trust me, this country's history is full of minority individuals. People who, by our sheer numbers, should not have that much of a say. But because of our sheer will, because of our determination, because of our ability to dream, because of our courage, because of our smarts, we are able to make that change happen. I can cite so many examples, but I think you know for yourself the history of this country. And of course, when you look at the history of India, I think it's also the same situation. Just because we are a minority, or just because we are small in numbers, does not mean that we are weak, and does not mean that change is not something that we cannot do. I also want to share this quote by another quote by Swami Vivekananda. Arise, awake, wake up yourself and awake others. Achieve the attainment of life before you pass off. Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is achieved. I think the idea of nation building is the idea of having big dreams, and the courage to have those dreams and continue to work on it, and the patience to continue to work on those goals even when things go against you. I can tell you for a fact that our journey with Undi 18 was not an easy journey. When we went through multiple governments right now. Some governments were in favor of us. Some governments didn't care about us at all. Some governments wanted to delay the implementation of Undi 18. Yet we continued to persevere. We continued to work. We developed champions. We made sure that we had a number of allies within our community. We made sure that we continued to do the right work going forward. So I think nation building, because of the scale of it, right? Because of the sheer intensity of it, it's never something that's easy. Right? Even changing your community is not something that's easy. Even if you look at 100 people, if you want to target 100 people, it's not easy. But just because it's not easy does not mean it's worth doing. Often the things that are hardest are the things that are worth doing. And I think that's something that I learned, the hard way many times in life, and I hope that many of you will have that experience, right? That when you put in the work, I think it's something that's worth doing, especially in developing and building this nation that we have together. So I don't want to speak for too long. I think I want to emphasize, I think many people here, I see a few people from different agencies, different departments. I think many of you here have an awareness about the idea of democracy, but I want to emphasize this, right? Democracy matters. And I think the collaboration with India as the world's largest democracy is something that we should cherish, right? All of us here are part of the Indian diaspora. So part of that Indian diaspora is that culture of democracy, that culture of acceptance of differences, that culture of celebrating different ideas, different religions, different perspectives in forming the society together. And of course, we work together in building something greater. I also want to emphasize that there is no perfect country, regardless of which country that you are in the world. But what matters is that what we as individuals, we as a community, we as a team, that we work together in building something better together. As Swami Vivekananda says, that we only have a very short period of life. Let's make this life meaningful. Let's make our life memorable. So that at the end of the day, we can look back with pride. We can look back and say that we did our best. So last but not least, I just want to say, my friends, believe in yourself, believe in us, and believe that when we put in the work, we can succeed, whether alone or we can succeed together. Belief can move mountains, it can change a community, it can change a country, and it can change the world. So with that, thank you very much to all for listening. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much to all for the mission and the work that you're doing. Let's make change together going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tharmapillai, for sharing your experience at the Gen Next conference and also sharing with us the initiatives of Undi 18. We wish all success for its future endeavors. Now, I'd like to invite His Excellency, Shri B.N. Reddy, to deliver his remarks on this occasion.
Thank you, Padmini, and also to Dr. Varsha Kannan for that very wonderful rendition of the Carnatic music. Respected His Holiness Swami Supriyananda Ji, President Ramakrishna Mission, Dr. Nisha Thayanatham, Miss Earth Malaysia, and a doctor, Mr. Tharmapillai, Advocacy Director and co-founder Undi 18, whom we all heard, Mr. Thava Haridas from Ramakrishna Mission, our Deputy High Commissioner, Ms. Archana Nair, distinguished youth representatives of various community organizations based in Malaysia, friends from media, I welcome you all to the observance of the 25th National Youth Day, which we are observing in India. It is a special day in the calendar of India. It is indeed a day that commemorates the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, and since 1984, as Padmini mentioned earlier, we have been observing in India as the National Youth Day. This is a clear recognition of the profound relevance of Swami Vivekananda's philosophy and ideals for the youth. Prime Minister of India, His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi Ji, speaking earlier today at a new sort of National Youth Festival in Puducherry, said, I quote, I pay tributes to the great Swami Vivekananda on his Jayanti. His life devoted to the national regeneration. He has motivated many youngsters to work towards nation building. Let us keep working together to fulfill the dreams he had for our nation, unquote. It sets the tone for the celebrations of National Youth Day in India. Friends, India has currently one of the youngest populations in the world. In fact, India is home to fifth of world's youth demographic distribution today. With around 65% of India's working age population between the ages of 15 to 59 years, India is expected to derive the demographic dividend all the way up to the year 2055. Coupled with the steady rise of India's middle class, changing social dynamics, increasing literacy fueled by the aspirations of financial security and quality of life for the next generation, and technological advances, the youth in India are joining different facets of nation development. It is indeed an opportunity as well as a challenge to tap this great reservoir of energy into a productive and competent human resource. Friends, India continues to contribute the largest number of qualified engineers and technologists to the global workforce. Overall rate of literacy among the India's youth has increased, with approximately 90% of them being able to read and write. Again, coupled with the rapid growth of social media and internet, which we are so well versed with, we have a digitally savvy young population in India, and I'm sure it is across the globe, and in Malaysia too, certainly. With internet access increasing to over 650 million people in India, and with the availability of smart phones, the youth are accessing online resources that encourage learning and acquisition of skills. In fact, I must confess, I am learning every day from my younger colleagues in my High Commission. And I keep requesting them, please educate me, train me, so that I become more relevant. In fact, several initiatives of the Government of India, be it Skills India Mission, Startup India, Make in India, Digital India, and finally now we have the Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is called the Self-Reliant India, to name a few. We are having indeed, these initiatives are transforming the youth in India, and in turn contributing to the India's new growth story. In 2021, just to give an example, I think it's very important to sometimes look at the numbers. India produced 44 unicorns. Many of you would know a unicorn is a privately held startup valued at value more than $1 billion US. So we had 44 of them in last year, and we expected to have 65 this year. And the new unicorns include, just to give one name, Sumit Gupta, who just turned 30 years in December last year. Overseas funds have put in over $35 billion into the India startups in year 2021, that is the last year, and is likely to triple as we go ahead in the coming years. Now, the reasons are not far to seek. Let me quote the SoftBank's founder, Masayoshi. He said, I quote, "I believe in the future of India. I believe in the passion of young entrepreneurs in India," unquote. This, I think, is just one example of how youth are able to take advantage. Having said that, we are very confident in India, and we are very conscious also in India that we have a lot of journey to carry forward, a lot of work to do, because with a large number of youth who are coming into the age of where they need to get employed productively and competitively, I think the work is in progress, as I said, through many initiatives, so that we bring them back into the larger mainstream of India's national development. Friends, in this context, I think we have to remember and strongly the words of Swami Vivekananda, which our colleague Tharma has little while ago very eloquently mentioned some of the quotes. In fact, Swami Vivekananda wanted the youth, who are the real builders of nation, to come forward and by their action and conduct translate his vision into reality and ceaselessly strive to make India morally and spiritually resurgent, physically healthy, socially stable and strong, politically sagacious and vibrant, and economically most prosperous. And I think this applies to youth all over the world. And I'm sure we have taken note of what Tharma has said a little while ago. This is a campaign that it has to be run across all communities, both in India, in Malaysia, as well as in other countries. I'm happy, again, Tharma has already mentioned, this year also marks a very transformative phase for the youth in Malaysia, with the lowering of the voting age to 18 years, 2 days from now or 3 days from now. We need to find ways to connect youth of India and Malaysia for betterment of our bilateral relations. In fact, I'm happy, again, Tharma mentioned, we are very happy to have him in India to join the next generation democracy movement, where we have selected 75 countries, democratic countries, and 75 into 3 or 4 times the youth of the different countries to come and visit us, understand the journey that India has gone through, and perhaps there are some lessons to be learned, and also contribute to our youth in their experience to the back home in India. And this is an initiative which has been started, and I'm happy that Mrs. Tharma Pillai was able to join in the very first group, which consisted of a few countries in that initiative. And we will continue to have more representatives grow from Malaysia to India. Well, today is a day to celebrate the achievements of the youth in the country, in all our countries, a day to review the challenges that need to be addressed to make the youth more integral to the various facets of national development, and a day to rededicate them to the lofty ideals of great philosopher and spiritual guru Swami Vivekananda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I'd like to invite His Excellency Shri B.N. Reddy to felicitate our guest speaker, Dr. Nisha Dayanandan. Now I'd like to request His Holiness Swami Supriyananda to felicitate Dr. Nisha. Thank you very much, His Excellency. Thank you very much, His Holiness. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest speaker joining us today is Dr. Nisha Dayanandan, who's Miss Earth Malaysia 2021. A doctor by profession and a model by passion, Dr. Nisha is currently working as a medical officer in Surgical Department, Hospital Putrajaya. As part of her social work initiatives, Dr. Nisha has closely worked with the underprivileged and also run medical campaigns in the years 2019, 20, and 2021. She has also been an active campaigner to safeguard the environment by preventing piling up of waste products. I have pleasure in now inviting Dr. Nisha for her talk on contribution of youth in sustainable development.
Thank you. A very good evening to His Excellency Mr. B.N. Reddy, distinguished guest, and ladies and gentlemen. First, let me start my speech with expressing my gratitude. I am grateful for the presence of so many of you here. And first and foremost, thank you so much to the High Commission of India for inviting me to deliver a talk today. Today, also an auspicious day where we celebrate the 159th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. He has inspired many youths around the world through his social service and his character-building speeches and lectures. I would like to cite a quote by him in Tamil, Vetrikku mudal padi tholvi, which also means failure is a stepping stone towards success. Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up in a middle-class family. We were taught to value the smallest thing in life, and I worked hard to be the best version of myself. I studied hard to achieve in my education, as I believe knowledge is power. And education is the only weapon that is able to transform the world. Along the way, I realized that I owe something to the community. When I became a doctor, I started my own charity organization called The Health of the Community, and I've helped many underprivileged. I've also recently introduced my own biodegradable sanitary napkins to assist and also to educate the less fortunate about period hygiene. Last but not least, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop, you will be able to achieve anything in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nisha. Swami Vivekananda's lessons have always inspired the youth. Those among the youth who are associated with Swami Vivekananda's ideas are preparing India for a new role in the world stage. To share more about Swami Vivekananda, we have Mr. Tavakumaran Haridas. He holds a degree in Bachelor of Communication and has been associating himself with the Ramakrishna Mission Malaysia since the year 2016. I would now like to invite Mr. Tavakumaran Haridas for his talk on Swami Vivekananda, a power capsule.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamarthaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. That's it. Sri Gurupyo Namaha. Vanakkam and Namaskaram to High Commission of India, respected Swami Supriyananda ji, the President of Ramakrishna Mission in Malaysia, and guest speakers, and my dear friends. Today I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be given to me to talk on subject Swami Vivekananda, a power capsule. First of all, I would like to thank Swamiji for giving such a good topic. Now I understand, I believe that these Swamiji's messages are not ordinary capsules anymore, but the most powerful for every spiritual aspirant. To be very honest, I find it very difficult after several years of reading books and listening to the discourses, especially after becoming familiar with the Ramakrishna Mission and Swamiji writing here. I still feel and understand the difficulty of understanding Swami Vivekananda even for today. To present this 5 minutes of the speech, And it was mainly because of the vastness of Swamiji's teachings and his messages, the very unique and the universal appearance as well. Although Swamiji is widely known as a great Vedantin, a great yogi, I personally think it is unfair to put some limitations on someone like Swamiji, such a great visionary, who spent his lifetime in the services of humanity for the unity and to bring harmony between the religions, traditions, and philosophical system as well. My dear friends, one day I went to my Vedantic teacher and asked about why it is always very difficult to understand such great saints. He's actually someone from a strict Advaitin with a great reverence for Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Ramana Maharishi. After a few seconds, he said, "It is because of your ignorance." I was wondered, and he explained in further, every time, whenever we see someone like Swamiji, for example, we cannot deny that we have huge respects towards him, no doubt in it. But we always try to look upon him from our own standpoints, the individuality, the ego we hold, and the labels which we have created from the born ignorance. After some conversations, he pointed out, if one truly wants to understand them very well, one should go beyond mere reading, mere studying. It is not possible for someone not willing to bring practical applications to Vedanta into our day-to-day life and understand the true nature of self, the Brahman as the absolute. Now the most essential question of my lifetime comes to my mind. It is the solution that I need to resolve this fundamental problem. In the Vedantic traditions, mind known as Antakarana, which plays a crucial role within us. In Swamiji's words, these power capsules, the Swamiji's messages are nothing but for the mind itself. Although it is true that these messages are great for motivation, for the great material success, but they are ultimately related with our inner progress for the higher spiritual goals. The word Antakarana here literally means the inner instrument that causes something internally and becomes the Karana, the reason for our entire thoughts, attitude, behavior, actions, and the whole life as well. Swamiji says we are what our thoughts have made us. We should remember that that thoughts are really playing a significant role in creating our personality, goals, and decisions as well. Therefore, in these modern times, Swami Vivekananda became one of the important figures to identify the role and the multiple aspects of the mind, who emphasize on the strength and purification of the mind. Especially Swamiji's Raja Yoga lectures, which is comprehensively propounds the essence of having a pure mind to lead and to live a perfect spiritual life. Swami Vivekananda used to underline the ultimate goal of human birth is the moksha, the liberation from the ignorance. Whereas I believe that his words, one of the famous quote, each soul is potentially divine, is nothing but a modern and practical connotation to the ancient Mahavakya Tattvamasi. Swamiji here advocates the spiritual evolution of mankind, the manifestation of the divinity that within each and every one of us. Hereupon, it is time for us to remember that these Swamiji's messages are not simply some food for the body, but the energy for our thought process, and for the solutions to bring the Ishvara into our day-to-day life. After everything else, now one question still remains within me. Are we truly ready for such changes? Are we truly ready for some self-realization? Let us think about this deeply on this great day and pray for both Kru and Ishvara Kripa. Let us pray for the purification of the mind, to meditate upon Swami Vivekananda, and to meditate upon the truth and become the truth. Thank you. Hari Om.
It was such a pleasure to hear Mr. Tavakumaran talk about Swamiji, indeed a power capsule. Thank you for your insights, Mr. Tavakumaran, and we wish you the very best. Now, I would like to invite His Holiness Swami Supriyananda, President of Ramakrishna Mission, for his closing remarks.
Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapahar Harine. Dear friends, His Excellency Sri B.N. Reddy and Deputy High Commissioner Archana Nair, and my old friends Padmini, Muthu, Hari, like coming home. And I don't know, Padmini is so nicely anchoring the whole program, such a talent. So, very nice to meet all of them. And recently only visited His Excellency Sri B.N. Reddy and Deputy High Commissioner Archana Nair, our Ramakrishna mission. Very nice that wonderful rapport that they will have with the community. It's really wonderful to have such people. Now, Vivekananda's birthday. How to understand Swami Vivekananda? How to implement his message in our lives? When he returned from America after 4 years of preaching Vedanta, when he touched the soil of India, first thing, he will take the earth on his head. Janani Janmabhumischa Swargadapi Gariyasi. Mother and motherland are more than heaven. These are the words. And the same Swami Vivekananda, truth is my religion, universe is my country, he will tell. He doesn't identify just with India, but the whole universe as his country. And not this religion or that religion, but truth alone is his religion. When we understand these two incidents, we will be able to have the glimpse of this great personality. He is not limited, he is not narrowed down to the traditions, but again strongly rooted in the tradition. When he returns to India, some Western friends, disciples also accompany him. They were surprised to see the same Swami who was with them 4 years is behaving like this. Swami Vivekananda's mother, Bhuvaneshwari Devi, she will tell, my son, I vowed Mother Kali that my son, if he returns safe from America, you will do Anga Pradakshina in the temple. Anga Pradakshina, if you are new to that, it will be circumambulating the temple, around the temple, rolling, or making Sastanga Pranam continuity. It takes a lot of time, a great physical exercise. So this sort of thing, when she told, this famous, world famous Swami Vivekananda, next day got his head shaved and one towel around his body and rolls around the temple. All these Western disciples were surprised. Old mother, old type, old timer. We are in modern times, and that too I have come with this all, what they will think. So this is not the stuff that is made of. Swami Vivekananda is something different. So these anecdotes will help us to understand this great personality. And when we look into his sayings, now almost everybody, all speakers on Swami Vivekananda quote this famous quotation, arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. And many schools, like a march past with very beautiful music, they sing this, arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. Actually, what does it mean? Arise, awake. We are sleeping. We rose from the bed. And again, why awake? We woke up from the sleep and then rise from the bed. But why this arise, awake? After rising from the bed, what is awakening? That means it's spiritual sense. The arising is nothing but awareness. The experience of awareness is awakening. Awakening just like that doesn't happen. An effort of awareness. We should be aware. Now we see the society, most of the people are sleepwalkers. We are doing, we are achieving, we are getting name and fame, we are becoming richer by day, but there is some frustration, some depression, some emptiness. Anybody you talk nowadays, 10 minutes okay, they can control themselves and give a false smile. After 10 minutes, எப்படி இருக்காங்க? எப்படியே ஓடுது. As if somebody is pushing our cart. We are not responsible for it. Somehow it's going on. चल रहा है. It's going on. So this, where from this vacuum, this emptiness, this frustration is coming? Swami Vivekananda clearly says, in the canal the water is there, always present, but gates are closed. Open the gates if you want to irrigate your life. The water will flow as per the gravitational force. So opening the gates, who will do? Who will build the cat? A particular community, now this is National Youth Day, India, whole India is celebrating. Shall we only depend upon the youth, or the elders are necessary for this? And who is youth? Sometimes their age is 20 years, but they are very old. No life in them. Are there? Can we call them youth? And we come across 70 years, 80 years, highly active, highly positive, helping the community. Can we call them old? So it's not the age limit. We can be young because minds don't have age. Only physical body has got age. Some are so active, so dynamic. So this sort of thing youth should understand. They may be below 30 years, but are they really young enough? Are their thoughts, ideas, their lifestyle? So this is necessary. So National Youth Day, when they discussed about so many personalities in India in 1984, everybody has got some criticism or the other. Then they discussed Swami Vivekananda as the leader of the youth. Nobody has objected. Because Indian government, we have politicians of various beliefs. Some have no beliefs at all. But all came together, unanimously chose Swami Vivekananda as the youth leader. Because truth is my religion, universe is my country. Because of that only, he is leader forever, eternally. Now this program is supposed to start at 5 o'clock. We are delayed because of guests coming, all of you, because of traffic jams. Vivekananda, this Arise Awake, this is actually taken from Kathopanishad. He has got knack of taking the relevant things from the Vedas, Upanishads. He will cut head and tail and make his own, which is relevant to the present day society. Though it is Sanatana Dharma from Vedas, Upanishads, he will always, his philosophy is, you don't just believe just because it has come from your grandfather. You have to minimize that idea. Don't believe in this ism or that ism. You have to minimize, you have to make your own. Any idea that we take, the youngsters should remember, they have to minimize it. They have to make it their own. So this Kathopanishad, Yama is telling Nachiketa, we are not getting into the story of that great Upanishad. It's all about death. That you have to approach great teachers and you have to rise yourself, be aware of your potentiality, and then you understand the truth. Because Nachiketa wanted to know what is the story behind death. Some people say death, everything is gone. Some people say no, nothing is gone, you are eternal. So Yama refuses to answer, but finally he is supposed to answer because he has given that assurance for him to give boons to him. The whole Upanishad is beautiful, and his favorite Upanishad for Swami Vivekananda. This Arise Awake is taken from there. And then again in West, when he was talking, he heard there, in churches he spoke, and then he spoke there Svetara Upanishad. From that he has taken Shrunvantu Visve, O children of immortality. It goes like that. I have found out the truth, the light. Forever we can conquer the darkness with that. Quoting this, he will tell, it is sin to call somebody a sinner, a wicked person. A wicked person, the gates are not open, that's all. Water is there waiting to gush in. When the wicked person somehow opens the gates, the water, as Swami Vivekananda told, it will come to his life and gets irrigated, and then he is no more wicked. He is a saint. So at most positive in Vedanta we will find, in Upanishads we will find. There is no place for hopelessness. So whatever he spoke, he says, I have spoken from Upanishads. No copyright, not even for one quote of Swami Vivekananda. He says, I have spoken from Upanishads. Anything you get benefited, you feel strong about it, thank the Upanishads. If you are disturbed by my talk, then that is my talk. There is no Upanishad in that, he will tell. Point blank. Now with that Shrunvant Visve and then this Kathopanishad Arise Awake in Sanskrit, I will chant. We shall end. Because all beautiful things should be short, should not be dragged. Okay, and Indian High Commission has provided snacks and things like that, and you have to reach home. We are having difficult times. In Vedanta, man is covered with 5 sheets. Now we wear mask also. Editions are coming now in this Kali Yuga. So we have to go on. But know our real nature. Okay, now I will chant C sharp. Shunvantu visve amrutasya putraah aye dhamani divyani tastuh vedahametam purusham mahantam आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् त्वमेव विदित्वा अतिमृत्युमेति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते अयनाय उत्तिष्ठत जाग्रता प्राप्य वरान् निबोधता उत्तिष्ठत जाग्रता प्राप्य वरान् निबोधता. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. That was indeed a sweet surprise for all of us. Thank you very much for that melodious chanting and also for your detailed remarks on Swamiji. We are also very happy to have you back in the Indian Cultural Center, Swamiji. May I now invite the Deputy High Commissioner, Mrs. Archana Nair, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
On behalf of the High Commissioner of India to Malaysia, Mr. B.N. Reddy, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. I would like to begin with expressing our sincere gratitude to Swami Supriyananda ji and his team from the Ramakrishna Mission for partnering with the Indian High Commission, Kuala Lumpur, to celebrate National Youth Day and the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda today. Swamiji, I'd also like to thank you for your very profound remarks this evening. You have left all of us here with a lot of food for thought and lot of things to introspect on. Very sincere gratitude, Swamiji. Thank you. I would also like to thank Mr. Tharma Pillai, co-founder and advocacy director of Undi 18, for joining us today and sharing your perspectives on the role of youth in nation building and in particular the journey of Undi 18, the various challenges, and we wish you all the very best in the future also. I'd also like to thank Dr. Nisha Thayananthan, Miss Earth Malaysia, for joining us this evening and sharing with us the role of youth in sustainable development and in particular the initiatives that you have been leading from your end in taking this forward. I'd also like to thank Mr. Tavakumaran Haridas from the Ramakrishna Mission for your address on Swami Vivekananda, a power capsule. Special thanks to our friends from the media for attending and covering today's event. I would like to also convey our sincere gratitude to each and every one of you present in the audience today for taking out time and joining us this evening. It was our pleasure to have all of you with us. Last but not the least, I'd like to thank my team at the Indian High Commission and the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Indian Cultural Center, Kuala Lumpur, and the technical team for their support in organizing today's event. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we have come to the end of today's program, and on behalf of the High Commission of India, Kuala Lumpur and the Indian Cultural Center, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. We have refreshments served outside on the foyer. I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Take care, stay safe. Namaste, Jai Hind.